Alrighty, guys, welcome back once again, back live, Leather Pocket, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. My name is Grant, sitting beside the one and only Mr. Chris Demers.
Hello.
Welcome back, everybody. We are set. Another great match, another great lineup. Ben Francis taking on Mike Robinson, or Mike taking on Ben, one of the two. We are locked, loaded, ready to rock and roll. If you are just tuning in, you know what to do. Help us out. Hit the share button. It is the B semifinals coming at you.
And we've just had the opening break here, and Mike hit it really well, popped it up. Got hit 2 balls, but unfortunately may not be able to see the 2.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is there a window between that 3-8 enough for him to make it? Or does he have to kick or push? No real good push option. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's looking at it. And I think
where do you push?
Top rail is probably the only place.
Right in
you
behind
can.
that 2 ball, maybe? Off that top rail?
Well, you either tie something up or put it into a spot that you can
kind of leave it up with the top.
I think he's going to take a run at this.
There's got to be a window between that 3 deuce.
No,
Nope.
He touched the 8.
That will leave ball in hand for Mr. Francis. And welcome back, everybody, on a fine Sunday afternoon here in Calgary. Weather is beautiful outside, even better inside. Get a little bit of pool action happening.
Weather's always good when you're watching a good match like this.
4 to the 5 is your game-winning shot. If he can accomplish that, he should be out. Then feeling a little inspired by his teammate, Mr. Spence, with that comeback in the last match.
Joe was, his opponent had got him to the hill and he needed to win 4, and he managed to bring it all back and score the victory. So he is in the hot seat.
Now, if that 6-10 is wired, do we see the early 10?
No, I think you just roll it forward and take the 6 into the side. One of the things Ben
kind of a funny little angle here. He's got to look at it. He's definitely looking.
He is, but one of the things Ben's always said is that on the first rack of a match, what he likes to do is, you know, get the run out and get in stroke. So
yeah.
So
he did look at it for a fraction of a second, but I think you're right. He went with his own better judgment. But again, right, those forcing shots that he just played right there, because he had to force that to come off that rail with the cue ball. Those can go a little bit funny.
That's almost why I liked bringing it forward rather than trying to force it to the side. But Ben, with his stroke, you know, his control over the weight is pretty good. I don't think it was
pretty solid.
I don't think it was too much of a concern. So.
And, of course, we do have the chat lines open. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away. We'll do our best to answer any questions that you might have. Other than that, sit back, relax. We got you covered.
Ben brings out the extension on his cue here rather than using the rest, something that a lot of the top players do.
I'm a fan of it. I play with that on the cue at all times. Now, I believe he's got either a 6 or 8 inch extension. Mine is not that. I think I have an extra 4 overall on my playing cue. And it just allows me as a taller guy to kind of step in a little bit more, get a little bit better of a stance and playing position.
Yeah, on the bigger tables, I think that having that additional reach is important. And I think that's why you'll see some of these players leave the regular size cue for if they play on a bar, and then if they move to the 9 foots, they'll use that extension when they need that longer reach.
See if I can get our comments to load. Not sure if anybody's commented yet, but you know what? Maybe comment for me. I just want to make sure that our comments are loading. Somebody say something. Say hello, what's up, nice run, whatever. Something. Just want to make sure that the comments are loading up. Yesterday I had to back out and in throughout the whole thing in order to get those comments to load. which seems to be a function on Facebook. You know, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. There we go. We're good. What's going on, Adam? Mike, welcome back.
Facebook can get a little bit flaky at times. So
You know what? It's the same as any other technology, right? It's good when it works, but when it doesn't work, you want to get out the hammer to fix the problem.
Yeah.
And you being in tech, you know all about that.
Absolutely. You know, there's lots of things in tech which you look at and go, oh, why does it do that?
Yeah, right.
Just kind of run with it.
Yeah.
So
It
Ben
made its own decision.
Yeah, Ben just took his first break of the match and comes up dry, leaves Mike a bit of a touchy shot. He can't really send it to the rail because the angle's a little bit funny, so he's going to have to control the cue ball rather than the object ball here.
I think he's shoving that one over by that 2-3 and the cue ball down by the 10 here. Or the intention is that.
But the problem is always that the 6 was always going to be in there, so he's left it pretty good.
Indeed. What's going on, Rodney? Tuning in from Spokane. Barry from Red Deer. Indiana in the house. How are you, Bob? Old man Ferguson on the YouTube. What's going on? And welcome back, everybody. If you are just tuning in, it's early. This is rack number 2. It's going to be a fairly quick match. Both of these guys know how to play the game. And I would suspect that it'll go fairly quickly. So if you can help us out, smash that share button, give it some love. That's down on the bottom left-hand side of your screen on Facebook. If you're tuning in on the YouTube, no rail, 3-ball gets there. If you're tuning in on YouTube, you can always copy that link, post that onto your own personal page, share that to any of the pool groups that you're associated with.
And for those of you who haven't seen any of this tournament yet, if this is your first match, this is the Fargo Fair match. So the races are not even. They will depend upon the Fargo rating of the players. In this case, Ben is racing to 8 and Mike just to 7.
Difference maker. So we do have our payouts available as well. First place taking home $950. Second place taking $700. Third place for $500. Fourth for $340. Fifth and sixth spot, $220.
So the challenge here is played it right to the center of the table, which I think is good because the 3 to the, oh, he missed it. Oh. He played it because he wanted to take the 3 across to the 4 to put it into that right side, but unfortunately, looking at the shape over the shot, he missed the 2.
So we'll see if Ben goes forward inside, checks that left side rail underneath the 10 and back up on top. Just like this. Doesn't want to be straight on it though, needs a little angle.
And I don't think he will get what he wants there. He's going to have to try and cheat a little bit and potentially spin it to get to that left side because the 4 doesn't really have any other pockets.
He could just touch draw this 3-ball, set yourself in the position to bank the 4-ball, play the 2-way, stun the cue ball.
Yeah, if you're going to play
to the bottom right with the 4, right?
If you're going to play for the defensive shot, then that's absolutely the way to go. But yeah, he went for it and
he got maximum reward, I think. I think he got away with it.
Well, he definitely found the window there. I don't think he wanted to, but
Mike might have rail first. That 3-ball's not too deep in that pocket. So
either that or he might be able to take just to do a little bit of a swerve on it.
Yeah, just catch that rail.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Overhits a little bit. That might snuggle up.
And it does. That's the risk of taking that swerve shot is that the speed control becomes so touchy because you know it's going to be speeding up when it comes off that 3-ball.
What do you do here? And I think it's right married. I think it's married to the backside of the 4. I don't think there's a lot of separation there. So even trying to play safe, maybe just send the 4-ball straight up and just try to get the weight correct and land that 4 on that top rail.
I think that's about all you can do, but yeah, he didn't really get much of it. So,
and maybe there was some separation, which you know, would cause that cue ball to kind of mishit that 4 a little bit. Because I think if those were frozen married, the weight that he did put on there should have shoved that 4 up to that top rail.
Well, I don't think he was trying to push the 4 all the way up. I think his goal was more to put the cue ball behind the 8 or the 10.
Yeah.
because that might have been the easier route, but unfortunately he didn't get there, and Ben's now working at the 5.
And nothing to do here. Pot the 5 back and forth across the table. And again, doesn't want to be straight here. I think he's got enough angle. Might be able to go in there with some inside, maybe outside.
Well, just top and a bit of outside, I think. He probably can just do it with straight top. I think straight top because he's got a little bit of an angle
here. Inside. Correct out that angle. So he had more angle there than I think what both of us thought he did.
Yeah.
Right, tricky to see those little intricate angles when you're looking on a camera. But they get to see all of that. Nice little switch hit here from Ben.
Oh,
kind of rushed that a little bit off of his normal pace.
One of the dangers of offhand hitting is just that you tend to try and just get it over with. And, you know, Ben's really, really good with his left hand and playing the offhand, but it's always, you've got to be really double careful.
Yeah.
I've been working on my left-hand game, and I can tell you firsthand, it's
mine is garbage.
It's a challenge.
Mine is so garbage. I can't do it.
I find the key with it is, and where it really changed for me was just trying to envision the stroke of your offhand, the backswing and the foreswing. Most of the times you tend to be tighter or cinch it, and if you allow that to, you know, be more natural and release, I think you end up with a better result, and that's when your results will start to improve.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I try to switch hit, I go from the level I'm at right back down to a beginner player. It is that bad.
I will leave it at that.
My left hand, yeah, I'm not far off there now anyway, but my left-handed stroke is not worth anything. Let's see if Mike is steady Eddie on this shot. Kind of a little bit of movement out of that back arm, but
when he got away with it,
he did. He's all right.
He was trying to come and take it off 2 rails to the center of the table and just didn't get the.
Yeah, he didn't get the take off the juice there.
Yeah. I find from that high an angle, when you're doing that, you almost have to stun it a little bit on the follow, or else, because that did just that little movement of ankle.
Well, and I mean, you know, fortunate that the tables are playing, you know, pretty slick, pretty quick pace. If that was a slower table, then, you know, maybe he's a little bit closer to that rail than what he ended up with. That makes it a little more challenging.
Yeah, there's also not really much he can do with that 9 ball from where he was. He has to just kind of take it where it is.
Yeah, and I kind of like what he did there. The 9 kind of wiped its feet on the way in, but he kind of took what the table gave him. There didn't really have to do a whole lot with it.
Leaves him a bit of a tester on the 10 early.
Are we hard up for commentators' assistants? Well, you know, I'm gonna have your back here, Chris. I see Chris here, Cliff, but I ain't see you here. I ain't see anybody else stepping up to the plate.
I think this is my second time match commenting ever. The first one was, of course, just earlier today, and someone did comment that they thought I had a good voice for radio. I think a lot of people would say I had a good face for radio too. So.
Well, in that case, you're the same as I am. I have a face that was totally meant for radio. So we're in the same boat there.
It's nice to have company.
Yeah, you're right. Well, there's a saying out there that misery loves company. You know what I mean? He is doing very well, Cliff.
Appreciate it, Cliff. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll see you down here soon.
Yeah, Cliff was on there yesterday, and I was saying it's been a hot minute since I've seen Cliff in the pool hall. We miss you down here, buddy. Mike with the break. I should probably put his score up on the scoreboard. I'm pretty sure he'd appreciate that.
And
wow,
for the
look at
second
this.
time in the row, he got a couple of balls, but this time he gets a good look at the one.
Only question is, can you miss the 8 if you choose to go that 2-rail path? The inside path does make this a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, with this one, I see that the one is pretty shallow angle. I almost like I've tried, when I try and do this one, I almost try and you hit bottom right and you try and drag it to drag out that angle and come off the 2 rails to come down to the left side.
On the high side of 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that you don't hit into the 8 and get down to the 2. But it's a challenging shot, and there's probably a couple other paths.
It is. Well, and I like your path, right? I like kind of digging into this, dragging out that angle with that right-hand spin, because you're in doing so, you actually, in my opinion, you have more control over the shot. Where trying to get and put inside on that or just straight ball, you could run into some trouble there.
Well, these guys at this level, they obviously try and avoid the risk of contacting any other balls, and he just hits it.
How about perfect?
Yeah, he finds the window that he was looking for very nicely. But yeah, one of the things that as you improve, you tend to want to move balls less unless you absolutely have to.
And Mike's got good control of that cue ball. He's a force. So Ben's got to watch, right? He's got to get in stroke. This is no give me match, right? Mike knows how to play the game.
Yeah, I was talking with Mike yesterday, and he said he really hasn't been playing very much since COVID, but he's got such a strong game that
it carries him.
It doesn't take very long for him to get back in stroke.
I agree. I'm not like that. If I'm going to be playing, I've got to put in my time on the table. I don't have that natural talent.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a rhythm player myself.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he might have come a little bit to the wrong side of it.
I think he's okay. You just float that in, just like he's looking at. Take the 8 to the top.
Yeah, I almost like...
Shooting off the rail is not ideal.
Well, having these ones, I know these guys prefer to go longer and come off a rail, and I was almost thinking he was going to go towards the left side rail and come out to put the 8 in the right. With this one, he's just going to hit it softly. And the risk is that you leave yourself a funny angle.
Yeah, he kind of came up a little bit short, but, I mean, he can pinch this in, and he's only going to travel over there maybe 6 or 8 inches.
He may want to travel farther and come towards the side so that he has the 9 with a good movement towards the 10.
Well, ideally, he could just draw this and end kind of in the middle left-hand side of the table, put the 9 to the bottom right.
Yeah. Or just
like what I said.
Simple.
Yeah.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that as well. There's usually two ways to any ball.
Oh, there's multiple ways, and when you don't get to see those fine, intricate angles, we can guesstimate.
Well, and plus, as you said earlier, we don't see the angles quite as clearly on the stream here as they do on the tables there. So sometimes there's naturally a better one to take, and we may not see that.
Yeah. Well, and you want to be careful here because it does bring in the side pocket here on this angle, which is, I'm sure that's what he's going back to look at is, okay, if I hit there, go there, it does bring in that side pocket or the side horn if you happen to miss it.
And that's kind of why I like the other side is that you're avoiding any of those issues, right? But
yeah, he put some good inside on it to bring it before that side pocket.
All right, looks like he's going to go up 2-1 here.
Looking good. Mr. Mike Robinson is. And of course, we got to give a shout out to one of our local sponsors here, Q Sports Labs, Nick's Q Innovations. And you can get a hold of him, 403-667-3173. Does all the maintenance for all of the Q Sports Labs staff. You do not have to be in town to utilize the services. You can send him your work. He'll get it done, ship it on back to you. You can also find him on Facebook as well. But we will say, absolute genius at work.
Absolutely. Not only does he build his own equipment, so carbon shafts, jump and brake cues, but he's a genius at fixing ones. I know one of the other players.
He fixed stuff that shouldn't be fixable.
One of the other players that I know had a custom cue that had a bit of a warp in it, and he was able to take the warp out of the cue. It took him about a week, but he was able to do it, and this is a cue that a guy was never going to get rid of, so he was really, really happy with that.
Look at this break.
Certainly Mike's found the table for his break, I think.
I would think so. He is sitting pretty. Really, it's negotiating the 1 to the 2.
I think he can just play that with straight backspin.
Yeah, straight draw down middle side of the, or middle just about middle of the table. That's all he needs to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a touch past the side pocket, and he'd be sitting golden.
Yeah, if there's any challenge, it's really navigating the 3 through the 5 ball, but even that's not horribly complicated, just a bit of work.
Yeah. Nice smooth stroke. Oh.
Decides to take it the other way, which is coming off the right side, which also works.
A little riskier there. You can catch kind of funny off that horn, but he made it work for him. And from here, you got to favor Mike to be out here.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't like that one was obviously with the 6 there was a chance to hit it, and then you're in trouble.
Well, and catch the inside of that horn, and that cue ball goes in a whole different direction.
Yeah, very much so. But he's good here.
Yeah. Nonetheless, he executed.
But now the question is, does he get into the right position where he can get from the 3 to the 4? He really just wants to come to the center of the table.
2 rails out, and he'll be sitting good. Off that bottom rail, left side rail, back towards middle of the table, and really anything past center table, and I think you're pretty good, sitting in a good spot. Mr. Sean Blomley, tune him back in again, brother. How are you? Yeah, sitting perfect.
So this is the B semi, so there's really 4 players remaining. How many started the tournament
27 or 28?
here? 728? That's a good size.
Yeah, really great field too. Lots of great players.
Well, and now that we're on the Sunday here, we're down to a few tables, so the other tables have opened up for the Leather Pockets weekly 10-ball tournament, which runs every Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Big pot. 10-ball break pot sitting at $2,900. So if you're in the Calgary area, come on down. Starts at 2 o'clock. Still got you don't have no time. It's 40 minutes after 2 already. It's too late.
I think they've already started, but yeah, the Leather Pocket has been running tournaments now Friday, Saturday, Sunday on the weekends, and really some good quality action.
Get you tuned in on these diamond 9-foots. Sean, I got beer and I got pool to watch. Life is good.
We're the same, except we've just got the pool right now.
We do, at this point. Who knows? We could go, a little CSL after dark action and have a few wobbly pops. You get adult beverages? Probably not. I probably wouldn't allow that, but
my English is so poor. I don't think I want to try and risk making it worse.
Nonetheless, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. If you are just tuning in, help us out. Hulk smash that share button. We are the B-side semifinals. Some pretty great pool on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, the more the merrier, and this is the time when you really want to be watching a lot of these ones. These are all good matches.
Well, I mean, we got Vegas coming up.
BCA shortly, and then followed by the VNEA in May.
Indeed. Well, ACS in between that as well.
Oh, that's true. And the VNEA has moved for this year. It's no longer at Bolly's. They're now going to be at the Westgate, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, bigger space, bigger venue.
They're adding a bunch more money. Have done a bit more in terms of the events, so they're really trying to come back strong post-COVID, if we can say that that's where we are.
Yeah. Well, I've been hearing the dates. Oh, look out. Look out. Well, all in all, not terrible based on where that 10 ball is, because at the end of the day, the only thing on your play here, make the 8. It's auto shape on the 10 ball, no matter where you are, except that bottom left-hand side of the table. Yeah,
the only issue here is that with where he's at, if he cuts it down, it's very easy for that other side pocket to be in play.
Oh, for sure. I think you just straight top this out, avoid that side pocket, but everything is going into making this 8 ball. Oh, he tried to cut.
I think he tried the crossbank.
He did.
And left, unfortunately.
Wow. Wired up. Leaving it wired for Ben. Tie ball game makes them both. Time-saving shot.
Yeah, he must have been afraid of that side pocket on the long cut as well.
Yeah, well, typically those horns jump out. They oogle-a-boogle the ball that goes by it, and it doesn't go where it's intended to go.
Yeah.
Speaking of Vegas, we do have the next session of the CSL IPL coming up February 7th. So if you are going down to Vegas or any big tournament and you want to show up with your A game, this is the one to get involved with. No better way to practice. It adds purpose to what you're doing.
Yeah.
You may as well win the cash while you're at it. Now sponsored by Predator. So in the open division, both the 7-foot and 8+, so 8 and 9s play together, is now sponsored by Predator. So if you win that, you not only win the cash, but you win a sponsored entry into the Predator Pros series of your choice.
And there's multiple divisions there. I saw there were 5 divisions, so there's something for everyone there, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. We got beginner players and right up to pro players. Tyler Steyer being the face of the league in the United States.
Oh, such a good player too.
Good player, great guy.
Yeah.
Spent some good time. I had a couple of different lunches with Tyler while I was down in Tucson.
So it looks like Ben's come dry here, but has not really left a great shot on the 1. It might pass the 6, but the danger is that with the way you have to hit that, you really can't get to the 2.
Does it pass the 6, though, is the question.
The way he's lining it up, no, he played it safe. Played to control the cue ball, and he got
the window between the 5-10. If not the window, he's got the hit off the rail.
Yeah, he's got the 1 rail for sure. Now the question is, with this, do you play for the combo to the 9? Do you play for the combo to the 3? Or do you just try and play safe for a hit? I think he's going to call a ball.
I think it depends, on a couple of different factors. How much of the 1 can he see, if he can see it?
I think if you're coming off the rail, you have to play it towards the 9 rather than the 3, because you don't want to risk the cue ball to the right the top on the right. And
did he call the 9 ball?
He did, but
wow,
did not get
great
rewarded.
Shot, no reward. Well, they say that no good shot goes unpunished.
So you've been watching my game.
Well, I don't know who they are, right? But one of these times I'm going to find out who they are, because they say a lot of things that happen to mess with a game.
Yeah, I need to have a talk with them as well.
Right? Yeah, same as Murphy. I'm going to find that Murphy fella at one point.
Well, he was an optimist, I think. So I think he's just going to come off the rail and just try and hit it. Yeah.
Yeah. Open up the pack a little bit.
Left it in open
leave
space.
A tester.
The thing is that this is another one where he can just roll the ball. He can just concentrate on the shot, because the shape's pretty much automatic.
Are your pool leagues still going up in Calgary? It depends. The in-house league here in Leather Pocket is still going. The other leagues, SML and the likes, they are not running at this point. The CSL IPL runs no matter what. That is, so the CSL IPL, for those that don't know what that is, it's open to all players around the world. You need an internet connection and access to a table, whether that's a home table or a table at the pool hall. It's open to anybody around the world, and we do have players playing all over the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the leagues that are running typically out of bars rather than a pool hall, they're closed because of the COVID restrictions. However, I do know that some of them are trying to get a bit creative in trying to elicit the pool halls to help to get some of the matches going. I think PV is doing that. Yeah, Warren, you're right. I think there's some that are trying to do some matches out of the Leather Pocket and other places for some of the divisions, but it's hard, obviously. You're not playing out of your regular digs and that, and trying to organize time is complicated.
It certainly can be, because I think everybody's trying to do it, and trying to get table time is a wee bit of a challenge, unless it's during the daytime. During the week, then I would suspect that it's fairly open. But
yeah, I think some people are trying to get their weeks in so they can go to Vegas. There's other ones where they're just trying to play so that they can play. Oof.
I think he may have been playing that the whole way.
He was playing to make that, absolutely, and he was stretching, so I think that just pulled him off a little bit.
CCS League is running as well, says Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's because they're well, I don't know. I don't know whether CCS is all central out of one location.
Yeah, and Ryan, to your point, the ones that can run out of pool halls, I think, are still going. So I think he's going to try a kick and stick here. I don't know if he's going to try and make it, but he might. Well, he did try for it.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't fault him. He got a little unlucky with the cue ball being kicked over there, but he tried to put inside on that, more or less play a two-way shot. That kind of left it in a little bit better of a position here for Ben.
Yeah, I wasn't sure of it, just because the 5 didn't have a ton of pockets, and so you really had to be precise there.
Well, we'll see if Ben plays this with inside. Goes 2 rails in behind, shoots the gap between that 6-7. 5 does pass the 10. Comes back out, live off that rail.
Yeah, but I don't mind that because you have one of the 2 pockets. You're never going to be in a position where you don't have a pocket to shoot at.
Problem is it brings in that side pocket around where that 6 ball is. So now you've got to find a way to kind of avoid that 6 ball.
Oh yeah, for sure. He 50-yard lined himself there, and that's a problem. But if he plays it, yeah, there you go. He hit it good. Now he's left himself just a little stunner draw shot that can pull it out to the center of the table. Or he can run it down and up if he wants.
Well, and it seems to be that in rotation pool, be it 9 ball or 10 ball, if you get out of shape in that early 1 or 2 ball, on the 1 ball or the 2 ball, you kind of fight with the rest of the rack to get yourself back into position.
Yeah, you're always chasing your tail.
Yeah. Gosh, he hits those shots so good.
Well, it's kind of a standard shot there where you come off that rail. If you hit it low and with outside English, it's going to come off 2 rails to bring you to the center of the table. These guys are real masters at making sure that they've got that right shot to bring them in line.
Especially with those thin cuts. Not to tote Ben because I don't think he needs it, but those thin cuts, that guy cuts in stuff that just, it amazes me. He was on the stream once when he cut a ball that just, there's no way to cut that ball.
Yeah, that's true. It's a challenge, and he makes it look a lot easier than it really is.
Nice shot. Yeah, we are very, very blessed, Tony. Not only with having the option to play, but the caliber of play that's in Alberta. We run a lot out of Calgary, but there's tons of talent in Alberta. We're really lucky. I won't deny that. Mr. Ben DeWolf, how are you? And good day to you as well.
So Ben takes a 1-rack lead now, and that transforms it basically into a race to 5.
It does. Covered the spot.
I think Mike's just going to take a... he's looking at he might take a quick break here just to hit the washroom.
Well, or we'll grab see whether that translates into timeout.
I think it's one of those things, and I've often heard the comment that if you had a rough rack, or you're struggling, or you just feel in a mental space where you need to have a break, taking that can really recharge you and get you ready.
Yep. So it does appear as though we are having a little bit of a timeout.
Sounds like a good time for a commercial.
It does sound like it. What's happening, Mr. Mike? Shaft that Ben Francis is using is the Jacoby Black. He'll be looking at transitioning to a Predator Revo shaft at some point in the future.
They've just come out with those newer ones that are just under 12 millimeters, did they not?
I'm not sure if that was Predator or not. That was... You're testing my brain, Chris.
I thought they were doing the Revo at 11.75. They had the 12.4 and the 12.9.
No, there's a is there an 11.9 in Revo?
I think there might be. I think there's one that's just under 12 that they just came out with recently. And, you know, a year is still recent right now.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I'll tell you what. You got to be some kind of player to play with that 11.9 Revo. That's for certain. 11.8. Thank you, Laura.
There we go. Yeah, I think most of the players that you're seeing playing in the 8-ball style games, not playing snooker and that, they're using something in the 12.25 to 13 range.
Mm-hmm. And 11.8. Wow.
Pass. So Ben broke dry again, giving Mike a chance at the table and a good look at the one, which he's made a good shot on.
He hit that about as good as you could hit that. Really nice display of cue ball control right there. Question is, does the 3 slip past that 8-ball up into the top right-hand corner?
It really looks like it does. The key is controlling the 2 because the cue ball's going to be traveling a little bit here. Right?
Well, so the question is, do you shoot the gap between the 5-9? I don't think you can play it above the 9 based on the angle of cutting that 2-ball in. So I might just try to play that nice controlled weight between that 5-9.
Yeah.
Maybe catch that second left rail.
That side pocket comes a little bit into play when you come through the 5-9.
That's
the risk. Yeah.
Risky. No risk, no reward, though. Live by it, die by it. The 11.8. I'm going to have to try it because with the transfer of power that the Revo does give you, I'll tell you, man, you got to be dead accurate on your stroke. And with my shake in my arm, that would be just a nightmare for me.
Well, and I would also think, as far as I understand it, the smaller your tip size, the more deflection can come into play. And so does that make the Revo have a larger deflection than the regular Revo? I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't played with them.
Yeah, good point.
I use a carbon shaft that Nick's Q Innovation makes, and it's a 12.25 or a 12.4. The deflection's almost 0 on it. It's fantastic. So
Ben looking good here. Add another ticker to his score count.
another one of these controlled stun draw shots to bring it to the rail.
And you know what? Like I say, he hits those so good.
He's practiced a lot with it, and it's almost automatic for him. And that's, you know, you want to get good at any particular shot or stroke, you hit a million balls with it.
And you'll see as Ben kind of acclimates a little bit more, starts feeling more comfortable on the table, his speed will increase as well.
Yeah, he's always a very fast player. Thank you for the correction, Dean. I wasn't worried about the low selection, but
well, let's be honest, there is a low selection right now with you know, all deliveries for just about every product around the world being not so good at the moment. The selection is a very low selection.
although as far as I know, Predator's been pretty good about their distribution, right? Like, I know that you've been talking about the tables, and they're starting to come. So.
Yeah, but I think they're, you know, they are starting to run behind a little bit, right? And that's simply trying to get product to make what's required in queues and tables and so on and so forth. So, you know, they had a bunch of product in hand, so, you know, it's not been terrible. It's replenishing that product is where the issue comes into play.
Well, at least we don't need transistors on queues, so that's good. They're short on them.
I don't know, Joe. You predicted that on the last outcome between Joe Spence and
Albert.
And Albert was to the hill way beforehand, and by all rights should have won that. I get it. I know that Joe won, but I think he got a little bit lucky to win there. Right? You can't pick like that
Yeah, once you go over a certain Fargo rating and you start getting to these good players, any one of them's capable of running racks and multiple
sure.
racks. So,
For
you know,
sure.
even at 4-2 here, you can't count Mike out. He
No.
can easily push it back to 4-4 in a heartbeat.
Listen, I've watched Mike Robinson run a 4-pack on a 9-foot table.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot count that out.
Well, we will see shortly here as Ben takes another break. His break's been a bit of a challenge, so let's see if he has found the speed. And he has not. Another dry break.
Mm-hmm. How are you, Val? Yeah, but I mean, Joe, you're going to have those fluctuations in all matches, whether it's a Fargo match or not, right? You're never going to play perfect 100% of the time, right? And I mean, I called it in that match you watched as Albert took his foot off the gas.
Mm-hmm. So here, do you take this and hit the one directly and try and come up, or do you try and just take it off the rail, which would take it to the right side and then come on that
I'm
side?
going to try and power that in and come off the rail. Typically, if you try to get cute, you could brush that 2-ball and put it into a not favorable position.
Looks
That
like
was
you
a
did
nice
it.
shot.
Yeah, you hit that well. A little bit of an angle, just enough that he can come back to the center of the table for the 3.
Alberta always wins, Joe. Wink, wink, double nudge.
Another autocorrect.
It is another autocorrect. And Joe knows I've known him long enough, and he's been a viewer on Q Sports Live long enough, I can rib him a little bit.
I'm still learning.
Right?
So he hit it good, but he left himself a bit of a tricky one on the 3 because he's now bridging over. He should be able, because he's got an angle, to just kind of stun it over to, you know, the right from the way he's facing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll
Just
get him to the
kind
4.
of above where that 6 is.
No, the other side, to take it towards the 5.
You're going to cut the 4?
No, he's gonna hit the 3 and stun it just over towards the 5.
Jeez, I thought he was shooting the 4-ball. That's what I get for looking down and reading comments. What's going on, Michael? Good to see you. And yeah, always good to see Ben playing. Really, it's good at this point to see anybody playing. Pool halls are open here, and I've heard through the grapevine that February 11th for Alberta is the date where the restrictions start to get eased off.
Looking forward to that. I know a lot of people are keen to play.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I think as the restrictions start to get lifted, you know, everybody kind of gets back to some sense of normalcy and getting back to life as we once knew it.
That's the hope for all of us, I think. So he managed to recover on the 4, played a nice shot to come out mid-table and leave himself good on the 5.
He does. Does he have enough angle to slide over to the right for the 6?
Yeah, he should be able to just kind of stun draw it over. Oh.
Tried to force a little bit. Which tells me he didn't quite have enough. Tried to force that ball over, and unfortunately,
He took it a little quick, I think.
yeah, didn't stick to his pace. But I mean, we've seen that now out of both players.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't happen often, but every now and again they are human.
Yeah, and with that, it's usually the last mistake that loses. So.
Yeah. This is why my game's up for adoption.
Please send your donations too.
Yeah, right. If anybody wants to adopt my game, it is up for adoption. I can't raise the dang thing anyway.
He might actually.
I would say for sure he's going to play this 7 off the 10. Just get that 10 off the rail a touch.
There is a touch of a danger here in if he doesn't play it with the right pace, that one of these times you push that 10, but you could push it towards the 8-ball and potentially hook yourself on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be careful. He's hit it pretty good because he hit it at a good pace.
Any 5 to 600 Fargos make it far. I don't know that there were any 500s in the tournament. I think everybody was in the 600 range.
I think there were some in the high fives, like Tony Sakamoto.
Yes, correct.
But
I think, and you're correct, because Tony played Ben on the first match. Ben had to go to 10, Tony had to go to 5. And even though her Fargo says that, I know that Tony has not been playing. And so, if that match was pre-COVID, Ben's in tough against Tony.
Yeah,
at a
I think
10-5
so.
race.
Yeah, if they're both playing regular, then that's a tough spot.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's part of the other, other equation, or the other factor in that equation that you have to consider too, Joe, is who's been playing and who hasn't. Right, regardless of where their Fargo sits, who's playing, who isn't.
Yeah, ACS Nationals coming in May, and it's good to hear that the restrictions are starting to ease.
Yeah, we have potential of maybe going there. I don't know if it'll happen this year. We will be there for VNEA this year. I was just down in Tucson a week and a half ago, and getting down really not an issue, with exception to them canceling our initial flight. That was a debacle and a nightmare to deal with, but we made it. 15 hours of travel time just to go to Tucson, but we got there. Getting back was a lot easier than going down. That's for sure. But I'd love to do ACS Nationals again. That was a lot of fun.
I haven't played in that tournament yet. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah,
so.
it's you know what? It's another same idea, same setup as what Vegas is. I think it's at the Tropicana, and yeah, I really enjoyed it while I was there. Had a good time. It was a lot of work.
Is it?
Yeah, it was. Well, we were streaming and playing at the same time,
Oh, okay,
and it was only Ben and I at that point, and we did ACS, played in that, streamed it. We put in 18 hours every day there, had 4 days off, and went straight into VNEA, and then same type of setup because it was only Ben and I.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be down in Vegas for VNEA, so if heaven forbid I get knocked out early, I'll come help you out.
Sounds good. Pockets Pool and Pub is where I go in Tucson. Yeah, we were actually there, Michael. I put out a post on Q Sports Live, and myself and Jeff Wanless, we kind of wandered over to the pool hall, played a little bit there, and I think we were there maybe 3 hours during the day on Monday, and then went over to the Casino del Sol, where the Predator Pro Series was playing.
From what I heard,
nice pool room. They had 8, if my memory is correct, 8 7-foot diamonds and 8 9-foot diamonds. Really nice showcase showroom for all of their cues that they had on sale. Really nice showroom.
Well, if it's anything like the venue that they had for the tournament itself, I watched the tournament in Tucson there, then I would imagine it's really, really good because they put on a fantastic show.
Predator?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm particularly, I know we were talking about this earlier before the streaming, but I find that format that they do with 2-set format in the playoff, certainly it brings the fans into it, but I think it's even more challenging for the players because
100%.
If you're just playing a straight race to 8, if you're down 3-0, 4-2, you're down 7-2.
Yeah.
Whereas in a 2-set version, you can be down, lose the first one 4-0, and you're down 3-2, and you still actually have a chance of winning the match. And
well, and
we saw
even
a couple
at that,
of those.
right? So, and it was actually John Lehman that put it kind of the best. On those longer races, and how many times do you see it where a match goes in, especially at the high end, it goes to that hill, player gets up, breaks and runs, right? Very, very anticlimactic to what would otherwise be a phenomenal match, right? Put that into a 2-set format with the shootout, right? And there is not that hill where player B doesn't get to shoot at the table.
Right.
So it puts the fate of your match in your hands on the case of a hill, right? Which for the most part players appreciate. So then you take that excitement and think about it in hockey, right? Every time that, player goes, misses, player goes, misses, player goes, misses, and it adds to that excitement level. And I know that post that I put out with Naoki Oi and Jesus, right, at 12-12, I think it finally ended at 14-13, and it showed just a glimpse of the excitement level in that room it was phenomenal to be a part of. The entire room almost stood still to watch that shootout.
Yeah, from what you were saying, after 6-6, the players that were playing stopped and turned to watch it. And how can you beat the excitement level for something like that just from that shootout idea? It's amazing.
Yeah.
So just kind of looking here where we are right now, it looks like Mike made a little bit of a tester there. He's on to the 5, trying to get to the 6. He played it well by playing backwards.
He did. Although he is kind of shooting off the beach here.
Yeah, that always makes it a challenge, but he's got a bit of an angle, so he can just kind of release it and let it roll forward to the rail and back out.
Yeah, you're going to put the 7 into the same as what he just did with the 5. And if you missed that post that I put out with Naoki and Jesus, and there's a name that y'all want to pay attention to, Jesus, and I can't pronounce his last name, but I'll tell you what. Young up-and-coming player, and he is rock solid. He is such a phenomenal player.
There were a number of names that I saw in that event that I hadn't heard of before, but went, oh, their game is tremendous.
Yeah, he played amazing.
All right, so...
And then Naoki, for him to do the ninja flip with the cue, and he's so good for the game.
So it looks like Mike here has a pretty good attempt at this table. He should be able to, just as long as he gets this 7 in. The 8 to the 9 is not complicated. So.
Yeah, I think he's just got a hit and stick here on the 7. You might draw over maybe 6 inches.
He doesn't really have to do too much with it.
Yeah,
just
pot it.
Concentrate on the shot.
Yeah. Oh, the wobble.
And
yes, exactly correct, Richard. Jesus Atencio, I'll tell you. Watch for his name. Especially in the upcoming years, man. Solid. He is one of the future superstars of the game. I wouldn't say marking, more gauging where contact point would be, Randy, on YouTube. But I wouldn't say marking. If players are marking, then obviously that's being used as a measuring device, and I would frown on that.
Yeah, that is illegal. It's a foul shot if you did that. But
It's going on Mr. Brian on Facebook. And Eric, how are you tuning in on YouTube as well as everybody else?
So Ben just needs 2 more racks here. We'll see if he manages to straighten out his break here. He's been coming up a little dry lately.
I'm sure that's it, Atencio. If my memory is correct, when I can recall hearing his name being announced, and I wasn't familiar with who he was at the start, but I sure know who he is now.
I think a lot of people have found out who he was from that tournament.
Yeah. And just super solid. Young player. I think he's 22, 23 years old. Phenomenal player.
Pool is getting that renaissance, I think, that a lot of other sports are, where you're now seeing a lot of younger and younger players who are just showing their ability and being able to compete at the top levels at a younger age. I think, the category of players with like the Federgorsts and the Al-Qaedis and them are really showing that there's that value.
Yeah, and I had a few conversations with some of the, I'm not going to mention names, but some of the alumni players, or who I would consider alumni players at this point. Not to say that they still don't shoot well and they're not relevant in the conversation, but with some of the viewpoints that those alumni players have on the game and where to go with it and so on and so forth, kind of take their opinion with a grain of salt, because I know that their mindset is in really one thing, knowing that they're kind of at the top of the career on their way out, They're interested in simply lining as much money in their pocket as what they can, right? And so the game is going to be transformed, over the course of the next 3, 4, 5 years. And I think it's important that it happens, right? We've tried to, oh, look at this shot. Look at that shot. That was nice. If we're going to grow the game, if we're going to do things properly and do some of the things that are on my agenda to do, the game has to change. And I hear it so much where I talk to some of those, those alumni players and, this needs to change and that needs to change. And then you present the change and they're like, no, I can't have it change, right? Because right here, right now, I'm simply worried about one thing.
So Ben played that with backspin, and that was always going to be a tricky shot, but he navigated it through and left himself a play on the 5 to the upper corner. He could play it to either corner, but I think that he's going to take it to the upper left because the cue ball just naturally goes to the right side rail.
Yeah, and I think if he just floats this forward, he completely misses that side pocket. Yeah. I don't think he has to do a lot with it. Tried to go to the other side.
It's going to be a challenge.
He's going to give one back.
So to your point on where the game's going and how it's changing, over the past, I'd say 5, 6 years, you're starting to see that where one of the things where a sport starts to evolve is where you start evolving the equipment and you start evolving the tournament formats and you're starting to see both of those happen. Obviously with carbon fibers, such a good shot there.
That was a great shot.
The evolution of the carbon fiber shaft, the new tables and the new manufacturers that are bringing different stuff, right? Like just seeing Cyclops become the Dynasphere and new groups taking things over. You get a bit of a resurgence by getting a bit of an evolution. And I think we're going to see that more and more now as people realize there's more money coming into the game. There's more people who are involved in the game. You always have the players, right? There's always been a ton of those.
I'll take that a step farther too, where it is cyclical, right? I mean, we've had the resurgence when you start to adapt the wood shaft and you start to have different products, and then the game went up and then it kind of cycled back down again. So now we're starting to see the uptick again, right? However, there's still missing pieces within the game that need to be addressed if we want to stop the cycle and actually take this and make this a true and legitimate sport, right? And you look at our industry as kind of a bucket, and I know that everybody's got their opinions on it, and that's fine. Everybody can have their opinions and they're entitled to it, but there's some drastic things that do need to change, that do need to be fixed within the industry. And if we don't, it's the same thing as trying to fill up a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You just keep dumping all this stuff in, but nothing ever changes or gets better, right? So, I mean, you can dump $1 million into pool, $3 million into pool, and if we don't fix the problems that billiards as an industry has, we're just trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom.
Yeah, there's definitely a few challenges, and my opinion, purely my opinion, is that we have, all these different international leagues, if you will, and international organizations. Oh, Ben's still struggling on his break there.
He is, and he is using a Jacoby, both the shaft as well as the butt.
But, there's so many leagues and divisions and the differentiation of those. It does cause some challenges because then you have, who are you playing with and who's doing it right. So you end up getting little mini schisms with the top players. Is that something that bringing them together can solve, or trying to get some coordination? I don't think so. But trying to solve that problem at that level and then trying to solve that at the grassroots level, I think it's probably easier to do the grassroots level first.
Well, I think it's even bigger than that, if you want my honest opinion. I've had several conversations with some key people. It is, and I'm going to sound perhaps a little off by making this statement, but it is on the agenda of things to look at and fix. And I know I sound like I'm overstating my position in this industry, or Q Sports Live position in this industry, what have you. And I wish I could go into some massive detail with everybody about what needs to be done, what needs to be fixed. But it's really quite simple. If you look at billiards as an industry, as a business, and look at it from that perspective, and why don't we see the Nikes and the Cokes and the Budweisers and all those guys putting money into it? And I've said it before on the stream, so I don't mind saying this part again. There's no structure. Everybody's got their piece of the pie, and you got the leagues that all kind of compete. There's no set standard of rules. There's no qualifications on how to go from being a junior up through the amateur ranks to a semi-pro to a pro. And then when you get there, there's no reward for being a pro. There's no declaration that you have to go through or things that you have to accomplish. You're more or less a self-proclaimed pro because Fargo says you're 720. And there's nothing that you have to do in order to maintain that status once you reach it. And so you look at it from strictly a business perspective. If I was to go to any of those companies at this point, they'd laugh us out of the room because there's no structure.
And you're starting to see some of that, right? Like the whole notion of Fargo and a ranking structure within it. You now have something that, if it was used globally, would at least give you that ability of, what determines a pro, what determines your ranking structure. You could start with that. There's a bunch of things that need to happen. I agree with you. There's certainly too much fractious.
Yeah, it's very
action
fractured
in there
right now,
and we'll get there. So
we will. I mean, it's like I said, I know I sound like I'm overstating our position in the industry and so on and so forth. I can assure you, we have some bigger things that we're working on, and some of that'll come to light here in the next week and a half, and that'll up the position that we have in the industry. When those come out, but. At the same time, somebody has to do it. Somebody's got to be the one to say, okay, enough is enough. We keep talking the talk, right? But we're a lot of the all talk, no action side of the coin, and that's the piece I want to change.
Agreed.
Right? Is let's put some action behind the talk.
So speaking of action here, I think that Mike just ended up leading the 7 a little bit wrong, and it looks like Ben, I think, is going to finish this out here. It looks like an 8-2 score, which really doesn't reflect how well they were playing. I think there was just a couple of misses, but looks like Ben's going to make it to the B final here.
Yeah, I would suspect that this one's pretty much done,
And that's it.
that. And so, like you said, Chris, the score does not reflect the effort put in by Mike. I think he had a little bit of bad rubs, and a few things got away from him there. But again, like you alluded to at the start of the match, not playing, right? Hasn't been playing a lot. So to Joe's point in saying, well, ha, 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 I told you so, again, take those points into consideration that, Mike didn't show what Mike is capable of.
There's 1,000 things that go into any particular outing with how much you've been playing in the past, how the table's running and how your game's running on it. You can't ascribe it to any one particular thing, but with this one, Ben ended up playing a little bit better, and that was the difference.
And Ben did what he was supposed to do. He capitalized on the mistakes that Mike made, and he made, perhaps a few too many in this match, and he knows that. I'll have to spell it out for Mike. He already knows, right? He hasn't been playing, and when you don't play and you come into a match like this, it's going to show, and
for
it
sure.
did.
And so Ben's going to end up taking on Albert in the B-side final.
The proof is in the pounding. I knew that comment was coming. You see how I prefaced that? All right, guys, we're going to do a quick shutdown restart. Don't go far. We got the B-side finals coming up live. That'll be next. On behalf of myself, Chris Demers, and the rest of the Q Sports Live team, we appreciate you tuning in. Don't go far. We'll be back in a few minutes.